Today I wanted to talk about a topic that I've been seeing on Twitter when it comes to the extremely limited release of Amazing Spider-Man number 252. This is the first appearance of the black Spider-Man suit. When it comes to this comic, I've seen a lot of debate when it comes to the price point and whether or not it'll be a good long-term hold. The topic of scarcity versus rarity comes into play. So overall, I wanted to make a video on this topic, scarcity versus popularity. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw on the real life representation of this comic. The last known sale for this comic book at a 9.8, the highest grade available for this comic, sold at $8,000, which is definitely not cheap. This was a special release on Veve due to the fact it was such a limited print run, being 1,000 mint overall for all the rarities. It came in at 425 commons, 260 uncommons, 175 rares, 100 ultra rares, and only 40 secret rares. If you were lucky enough to land this drop, congratulations, because regardless of what rarity you got, you made a boatload of money off your $7. But if you didn't get one on the drop, is this a good comic to buy after the fact? And this is a question I'm going to try to answer for you guys by breaking down some things that I've noticed. Whether it comes to comics or collectibles, we can't deny that scarcity plays a huge role when it comes to collectibles inside the Veve app or in the physical world. But it doesn't always come down to scarcity that drives the price. Take for example these 3 comic drops: Avengers number 8, Thor number 337, and Hitmonkey number 1. The two things that these 3 comics have in common is they were a super limited run with 10,000 mint overall, with the secret rare only containing 250 copies. I think it's important to draw comparisons to these 3 comics, because before these comics, most of the comics that dropped on the app were at 30 to 60,000 mint, with the secret rare making up 500 of that total. The reason I bring this up is because I noticed a trend when all 3 of these comics came out. So for example, with King the Conqueror Avengers number 8, that comic hit as high as $40,000. And with Thor 337, this comic hit as high as $10,000. And we also saw Hitmonkey secret rare go for as high as $26,000. Fast forward a couple months and there's something I noticed between all of these comics. As we get that shiny new drop of comics or collectibles, I noticed that these 3 comics at the time of recording this video have drastically gone down in price. With Avengers number 8 sitting at 8.7k, the Thor 337 sitting at $3,000, and Hitmonkey sitting at 2.6k. This is my personal opinion, but when it comes to something like Amazing Spider-Man 252, I would proceed with caution. And although this comic is pretty cool with the unveiling of the black Spider-Man suit for the first time, which I think is awesome, an $8,000 real life sale doesn't really justify a $100,000 price tag for the secret rare inside the Veve app. And yes, I know there are only 40 of these ever made, but with that being said, this also opens up the comic to whale manipulation. So someone with a lot of money can come in and purchase a ton of these comics, maybe on the day that it launched, and now they're able to manipulate the price and make it whatever they want. This is why I'm excited to see Veve sold histories. This is similar to what you see on eBay or OpenSea, and you can see the history of something that's actually physically sold. And this will help sellers in the future be able to properly price their items and not overinflate or underprice their items, but base it off of the last sold item so that this is fair across the board for the buyer and the seller. For me, the risk is too high to invest in such an expensive comic purely off of scarcity. As we have heard from the team on multiple occasions that one-of-one NFTs will be coming to the Veve app. What happens when 40 NFTs are too much because the mentality has shifted to everyone wanting one-of-one NFTs? And I'm not saying this will happen, but if the only backing on a collectible is scarcity and it loses that attribute, it could follow the same path as Avengers number 8, Thor 337, and Hitmonkey number 1. Although I do see this comic retaining a lot more value due to the fact that Spider-Man is the world's most famous superhero, and we will continue to see Spider-Man hit the big screen from Marvel for years to come. Again, this is just my personal opinion, and the digital landscape could completely separate from the physical collectible world, and I could be completely wrong. But when it comes to my collecting strategy on Veve for collectibles or comics, I like to compare it to 2 things: the collectible's popularity in real life and also the historical significance of that collectible or comic. And then I base that on my buying decision inside the Veve app, as I can easily apply this historical sales data back into the Veve app based off of the real life adaptation of it. For example, on social media and Twitter, we've seen the Marvel number 1 1939 comic book secret rare sell for upwards of $25,000, and we've had confirmed sales through escrows and other people confirming these sales. We've seen that comic grow organically with the app, and we've really seen that demand outweigh the supply. The comic also has historical and cultural significance. When it comes to this comic, it is the first ever Marvel comic that spawned off this entire generation of movies and the best media franchise that this generation has seen. Marvel has been able to blow our minds with their intertwining of many movies all tied together to create an everlasting story that we're all going to remember for years to come. Not only that, but this comic also has scarcity in real life. Not only was this comic the first ever Marvel comic created in 1939, but it is also the first ever Veve comic NFT and the first ever NFT to hit the blockchain, officially licensed by Marvel. And only 60 or so comics are known to exist in real life of this comic. We also have historical sales data for this comic. This comic, sitting at a 9.4 in the past, has sold for millions. But with the scarcity, even if you had the money and you really wanted to buy this comic, it is almost impossible to find. As I said, there are only about 60 or so in the world, so the next best thing will be for a collector to come over to Veve and purchase the digital copy of it. For such a scarce and popular and historical piece, at the time of recording this video and everything on the Veve app at the moment, I'm going to make a really bold statement and claim this to be the holy grail of the Veve app. And there's another scenario when it's not all about scarcity. As an opposite of scarcity to the Marvel 1 or any of the Secret Rare comics, we have the Todd McFarlane, the first ever Veve NFT, and the first ever appearance of Batman on the Veve app. This collectible just 5 or 6 months ago was sitting at $600. Today, we see that collectible sitting at 6.1K. This is remarkable because this collectible actually has 7,500 editions. The price point is extremely high for this collectible due to the fact that the demand heavily outweighs the supply. One last example I want to bring forward with scarcity is OpenSea. On OpenSea, we see a lot of one-of-one projects. These projects are extremely scarce as there is only one version of them, but some of these projects still struggle to sell, and I attribute this to a lack of demand, regardless of how scarce that NFT is. At the end of the day, in my experience, popularity will always come first over scarcity. This is how I've seen a lot of comics and collectibles move on the Veve app. There are many other variables like mints, first edition, first appearance that also come into play as well, but if I were to go into that, this video would be an hour long. So today I just wanted to focus on scarcity versus popularity. I hope you all learned something today, and I just want to reiterate that this is just my opinion. Regardless of what you collect, please don't take my opinion as fact, as this is just my opinion. It's also not financial advice. I'm just basing my collecting on Veve off of my many years of collecting stuff in real life. As always, I recommend collecting what you love. As we are so early in this app, I believe everything has so much room to grow. And if you have any questions, please leave it in the comment section below. I'd love to hear your thoughts on popularity versus scarcity. Make sure to like and subscribe to let the algorithm know you want to see more of my content, and I'll catch you next time. Peace out.